Things can never be simple, can they, in a cult? There always have to be some kind of rules, particularly surrounding sex. And I feel sorry for any Jehovah's Witness, whether in Bethel or elsewhere, who is dealing with, as we heard discussed there, these feelings of shame over what is essentially perfectly normal behaviour. Hello there, I'm Lloyd Evans. Welcome to The Attic, and welcome to the first episode of Awkward Truth, my new series in which I examine leaked videos from the Jehovah's Witness organisation that the ordinary rank and file are almost certainly not intended to see. Now, the video that we're going to be looking at in today's show is a video dating to 2022. It was leaked on Reddit, to the best of my information, by Dav-King. I don't know this individual. They've not reached out to me. I'm just replaying this footage that's found its way onto Reddit and giving my commentary. Whoever is responsible for this leak, whether it is Dav-King or a friend of his, I think it's a great thing and a very brave thing that they've done to make this footage available to everybody so that we can get a sneak peek behind the curtain and see the true nature of the organization, the side of the organization that ordinary Jehovah's Witnesses aren't allowed to see. So without further ado, let's roll the first clip.
Hi, Terrence.
Hey, Donnell.
Well, we have been assigned by Bethel office to see how we can best help Johnny Young. He confessed to being involved with pornography. He initially approached me about the problem, and he revealed that he was exposed to it by a non-witness relative when he was in his pre-teens. He mentioned that he's been under a lot of pressure lately. He wants to get married, and so he has been dating. But the last two sisters he dated called things off, and this sent him into a downward spiral. In addition to that, a number of his friends have left Bethel for various reasons, and that adds to his distress.
Wow. What a difficult set of circumstances. I really feel for the young man.
Yes, what a difficult set of circumstances. We have Johnny Young, fictional Bethelite, dealing with this issue of pornography and, as we're going to hear, self-abuse. We'll get to that later. I don't think there is any reason at all for these two guys to be discussing, the personal sexuality of a young man and what he gets up to in the privacy of his own apartment or whatever. It's just that Jehovah's Witnesses, as we saw in the Pillowgate video, rebuttal to that thumbnail here, this is an organization that's completely obsessed with sex and with being able to police people's sex lives and introduce all sorts of rules to inhibit and repress people's sexuality.
Did he say if it has affected him in some other ways?
Yes, he did. He also mentioned that from time to time, while viewing pornography, he slips into self-abuse. In fact, he admitted that these things have become part of his way of coping.
You know, Donnell, it's commendable that he approached you.
Well, he is a good young man, a hard worker. I would never have guessed what he is dealing with.
Yes, that might be true. But when I say commendable, I mean you. You are to be commended. This young man must feel comfortable enough with you and that you're easy to approach about such intimate matters. So, how can we best assist him?
Well, he said he felt ashamed to have to talk about it, but he sensed a feeling of relief knowing that he would receive help. So I was thinking that we could share with him some Bible examples of those who made mistakes and who felt a measure of shame or guilt, but received Jehovah's help.
Yes, that will definitely help reassure him that he is not beyond Jehovah's tender care. And after that, if we can ask for specific details as to the amount of times that he viewed pornography and the type of material that he viewed, this will help us when we consider the questions found in the Shepherd Book.
That is true.
There we go. So they want details. They want to know exactly what type of pornography, what type of material was looked at and how often. And what they mean by type is the pornography what they would call abhorrent or non-abhorrent? And basically all that means is if the pornography is heterosexual, then it's non-abhorrent. But if it's in any way homosexual or involving practices that go against Jehovah's Witness teachings, so gay pornography, lesbian pornography, that sort of thing, then it would be classed as abhorrent pornography. So they're going to be wanting to drill down and find out more about what it is that this young man has been looking at. But just an incredible conversation to be eavesdropping. Obviously, none of this took place, but this is the conversation that elders in Bethel, tasked with dealing with these situations. This is the model. This is what they're supposed to follow. They're supposed to refer to masturbation as self-abuse. You are abusing yourself if you masturbate. I did chuckle a bit when they referred to him as being a hard worker. Yeah, a bit too hard. I think that's the problem. Sorry. And I would never have guessed what he's dealing with. Well, isn't that kind of obvious? I mean, if you are masturbating and looking at porn, how is this going to be manifested in your day-to-day life as you're going around Bethel? It's going to be difficult, I would suggest, regardless of what's going on in someone's life. I mean, that's the whole reason why double lives exist, is that people can just block out completely what they're doing secretly. But let's just, again, make it 100% clear. Masturbation is not self-abuse. Masturbation is normal. Everybody masturbates unless they are asexual and therefore not in any way compelled to masturbate. But for the vast majority of human beings, it's a perfectly normal, legitimate way of dealing with one's sexual urges. And yet here they are acting like policemen over something completely natural taking place, and apparently relishing dipping into this Johnny Young's feelings of shame and the relief that he's hoping their involvement will bring.
He said that when he was between 13 and 15 years of age, he would engage in such activity once a month. But he stopped before he got baptized. But it has been since he's been at Bethel that these old desires have crept back into his life. And so that is why he asked for help.
Yeah, I really feel for the young man. And we can commend him for not trying to do it alone. Seeking help to overcome this really demonstrates that he wants to do things Jehovah's way.
That is true. From what I understand, he's only spoken to me about it. His father and his mother are separated, his father not being in the truth. So he has not been inclined to speak to either of them about it. But those are things that the two of us can confirm.
Very true. So what do you think he's expecting to happen?
I'm not really sure, but no doubt you recall that the dwelling manual in paragraph 79 states that whenever a member of the Bethel family is involved in viewing pornography, a determination will be made whether he can remain in Bethel. So in harmony with that, the responsible brothers have asked us to get back with Johnny and gather all the facts so that we can make a recommendation regarding whether he can remain a member of the Bethel family and a ministerial servant.
So now we're learning that there are responsible brothers who already know about this conversation. So many people are already in the loop. They've kind of swung into action to help Johnny with his masturbation porn problem. And apparently Johnny is fine with all of this, we're going to hear. But it does seem to be a grave violation of his privacy. It made me laugh when the guy said, we can commend him for not trying to do it alone. I think that's the entire problem here, is that he has been doing it alone. But they also mention the dwelling book, paragraph 79. Actually, my copy of the dwelling book is an older copy. So this is the book that Bethelites are given when they join Bethel. And my copy, which was very kindly sent in by an anonymous contributor to my collection, mine's actually a 2005 copy, so the numbering is evidently off with what they mentioned. They mentioned paragraph 79. In my book, it's paragraph 83. It says, if a person has in his possession, makes use of, or brings into Bethel pornographic literature, morally corrupting music, or video recordings that feature violence, demonism, or sexual immorality, or if he views pornographic material on the internet, a determination will be made whether he qualifies to remain at Bethel or not. So, sounds like the wording that they now have might be a little bit different or positioned slightly differently in the book. But I can confirm that that was also in the 2005 dwelling book. And yeah, it's mad, isn't it, that something as innocent as this, no one's being hurt in this situation, you know. The only one who's really being hurt is Johnny because of his intense feelings of shame. Shame that is being exacerbated by how many people in suits are now involving themselves in his personal life.
So based on that, the Shepherd the Flock of God book, I have my tablet here, says in chapter 13, paragraph 6, the body of elders may determine that the person still qualifies to serve in an appointed position. Does his involvement consist of a few brief viewings of non-abhorrent forms of pornography? Was the first thing. Number 2, does he display a heartfelt desire to desist from looking at pornography? Number 3, are we convinced that he will refrain from viewing it any further? Number 4, does he retain the respect of others who are aware of what he did? And number 5, does his conscience allow him to do so?
Yeah, that's valuable guidance on how to approach the matter. And again, I want to commend him for seeking help, having the courage to do so. You know, it has to be embarrassing to reveal such matters to the elders.
That is true.
Embarrassing? I think that's putting it mildly. I think utterly humiliating would be the way I would describe this whole thing that's happening. But yes, I was following along in my copy of the Shepherd book. This is an original Shepherd book that was kindly donated to the channel. And obviously the Shepherd book keeps getting written and rewritten multiple times a year sometimes, but the wording for my copy is still the same as what they were reading about the various factors they need to consider his involvement whether his involvement consisted of a few brief viewings of non-abhorrent forms of pornography. I have to wonder what brief means, you know? Brief is such a vague word, isn't it? Are we talking seconds? Are we talking minutes? Are we talking hours versus days? It's such... This is the problem, I think, when you start making rules that have no basis whatsoever in Bible verses. You then have to start layering on extra rules that don't make any sense or can be interpreted entirely subjectively. So I think it's purely down to whoever's, discussing this particular situation, what they would consider brief. I'm told that many pornographic videos on the internet are by nature brief. But yeah, who knows? Who knows what that exactly means? I wanted to take your attention to paragraph 3 in chapter 13. And isn't it interesting, by the way, that they have an entire chapter, I don't know whether you can see there, an entire chapter dedicated to pornography. Pornography gets an entire chapter, and actually stealing something from someone gets, I think, a couple of sentences. That's where their priorities are. On the issue of non-abhorrent, if you read paragraph 3, at least in my version, it says, an entrenched practice of viewing, perhaps over a considerable period of time, abhorrent forms of pornography would be considered gross uncleanness with greediness and needs to be handled judicially. Such abhorrent forms of pornography include homosexuality, brackets, sex between those of the same gender, close brackets, group sex, bestiality, sadistic torture, bondage, gang rape, the brutalizing of women, or child pornography. It is equally wrong for a man or woman to watch two women engaged in homosexual activity as it is for a man or woman to watch two men engaged in homosexual activity. So there are a few things there other than purely is it straight or is it gay, but that would seem to be like the main issue that they have. When it comes to porn, elders just want to know, really, was it straight or was it gay? Because, as we all know, the organization is intensely homophobic, believes homosexuality to be a perversion. Ultimately, what are the elders doing? Weighing in such matters and wanting to insert themselves in this very personal, intimate situation to the point of knowing the exact details of what type of porn he watched.
When he spoke with me, he said that he knows that I'll have to talk to other elders, and he is willing to face whatever comes, even if it is judicial. He is prepared for that. He mentioned that he has a lot of confidence in me, and that whatever happens will be done Jehovah's way. So again, he is prepared for that.
Excellent. That is certainly encouraging to hear. And before we meet with him, would you mind if I said a word of prayer?
Not at all. We need Jehovah's Spirit to help us to care for our dear brother.
And we're just waiting there to see the copyright mark, which I think is important for viewers to see, given the fact that these are, again, leaks. I mean, you could be forgiven for watching this video and thinking, oh, this is just apostates trying to make the organization look bad. I mean, the content is so outrageous, isn't it, that it's not beyond the realms of possibility that someone would stage this, but it has the copyright at the end there and the JW.org logo. This is legit material, and it gives us a perfect insight into the sex rules, you know, the culture of obsession with policing sex that goes right up to the top of the Jehovah's Witness organization. We had that brilliantly demonstrated for us with the leaked Pillowgate videos back in, I think, 2018 they were leaked. This video is from 2022, so a couple of years old, but I can imagine this is still pretty much how they would be dealing with this situation. Individual Jehovah's Witnesses working at Bethel will be working in a culture of fear, where they feel that their every actions must conform to the expectations of the leaders. In many cases, they will feel like their options for pursuing their sexuality in a healthy way are extremely limited. Things can never be simple, can they, in a cult? There always have to be some kind of rules, particularly surrounding sex. And I feel sorry for any Jehovah's Witness, whether in Bethel or elsewhere, who is dealing with, as we heard discussed there, these feelings of shame over what is essentially perfectly normal behavior for sexual beings who experience sexual attraction, who have sexual thoughts. This is an organization that doesn't want people to be normal human beings, wants them just to be robots who don't have any of these passions or any of these urges. And you can't help but wonder just how much hypocrisy there is in this area. For example, these two guys sat at the table. Come on, you're not telling me that they don't sometimes use their hands in an improper way. So, yeah, fascinating material, and it is, again, the first in a series, because there have been a number of leaks recently that I would really like to comment on. So look out for future installments in the Awkward Truth series, but that's all I have for you with this one. Don't forget to subscribe to the Lloyd Evans channel for more such videos, and as always, thank you for watching.